welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're digging into a really interesting story out of Gujarat, India. It's about a 1,000-year-old human skeleton.
Right, discovered back in 2019.
Exactly. And the focus isn't just the discovery, which is fascinating in itself, but the whole situation around where it is now, or maybe where it isn't.
Yeah, the BBC News article we're looking at really highlights this kind of bureaucratic tangle it seems to be caught in.
That's a good way to put it. A significant archaeological find, potentially hugely valuable, but it's sort of stuck, not really being studied properly, not displayed.
It's a strange situation.
Our mission here is to unpack that. Why is this find in limbo? We'll look at the discovery itself, the bureaucratic mess, and the local reaction too.
Sounds good. The discovery details are pretty striking straight away.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, finding a skeleton that old is always significant, but this one was found in Vadnagar, in a pit, sitting cross-legged, like a meditative posture.
Wow. Okay. That's unusual.
Very unusual. The article mentions only 3 other sites in India with similar finds, so it immediately makes you think, who was this person? What did this posture signify?
Some kind of special status, maybe?
Possibly. Or specific burial rites we don't fully understand yet.
And the archaeologist, Dr. Abhijit Ambekar, he found it, right?
Yes, he did. And he's quoted saying it's an extremely valuable find, not just locally, but for the whole country.
Because it could tell us so much about how people lived back then.
Exactly. Things we just don't know yet. It opens a window.
They think it's from the Solanki period, so roughly 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, 940 to 1300 CE, that time frame. And the details are quite specific. Right arm on the lap, left arm maybe resting on a stick.
And they've done some initial analysis?
A little bit. DNA suggests local ancestry, a man maybe in his 40s, but that's just scratching the surface.
Right. You could learn about diet, lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. Isotope analysis, for example. What did he eat? Where did he grow up? And this idea of samadhi burials comes up too.
Samadhi, like enlightenment or deep meditation.
Sort of, yeah. It refers to certain Hindu practices, sometimes involving burial in a meditative pose after death. This find could give us direct physical evidence about those customs.
And it survived so well because the soil was just right.
Apparently so. Undisturbed soil with characteristics that slowed down decay. A lucky break, really.
Okay, so fascinating find. Amazing potential. Which makes the next part even more frustrating.
The current situation.
Yeah. 6 years later, this incredibly valuable, fragile skeleton is where?
It's reportedly in a makeshift shelter in Vadnagar, basically under a tarpaulin.
A tarpaulin, seriously.
That's what the article says. No proper security, exposed to the elements, not climate controlled.
That's shocking, actually, for something 1,000 years old.
It really is. And the reason seems to be this disagreement, this back and forth between the Gujarat state government and the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI.
About who's responsible for it.
Essentially, yes. Who should house it permanently?
Okay, what's the state government side?
Their perspective, according to Pankaj Sharma quoted in the piece, is that all the artifacts from the Vadnagar excavation, and there were thousands, like 9,000 others, were meant for local museums.
Okay.
But they claim the skeleton wasn't formally handed over. So in their view, it's still technically with the ASI.
But the ASI, or at least Dr. Ambekar who found it, says something different.
Right. The article quotes him saying the skeleton was among the artifacts handed over to the state government.
So one says, we never got it. The other says, we gave it to you.
That seems to be the core of the impasse. A classic he said, she said, but with a priceless artifact stuck in the middle.
And the BBC tried to get an official line from the top ASI person.
Yeah, the director general, but apparently got no response to their questions, which isn't helping clear things up.
Although the state's cultural department did say they're working on moving it soon.
Yes. M. Thanarasan from the Sports, Youth, and Cultural Activities Department gave that assurance, working on shifting it to a museum soon.
But soon can mean a lot of things in bureaucracy, can't it?
Yeah.
Especially when it's already been 6 years.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the skeleton waits under a tarp.
Okay, this brings us to the irony part, which is quite something.
The new museum.
The brand new, very expensive museum right there in Vadnagar.
Yeah, the Archaeological Experiential Museum cost, what, $35 million? Inaugurated recently.
And it's supposed to showcase Vadnagar's history, right? Like 2,500 years of it.
That's the claim. Showcasing over 5,000 artifacts, pottery, coins, tools, and skeletal remains. It
Yeah.
specifically mentions skeletal remains.
So you'd think this amazing 1,000-year-old skeleton would be like the star exhibit.
You would absolutely think that, but it's not there.
It's not in the $35 million museum designed to show skeletal remains from the area.
Nope. Apparently, the museum has a large photo of the skeleton.
A photo.
Yes, a big picture of the main event, but the main event itself is outside under a tarpaulin.
Wow. That's almost unbelievable. Talk about irony.
It is quite stark, isn't it? And the local people, understandably, have noticed.
I bet. What's the feeling on the ground?
Well, the article suggests a mix of pride in their town's deep history, but also real concern and frustration about this skeleton.
Like, we have this amazing piece of our past. Why isn't it being treated properly?
Exactly. One local, Jisang Thakur, is quoted blaming red tapeism, just bureaucracy getting in the way.
Yeah, that sounds about right based on what we've discussed.
Yeah.
He makes a good point. What's the point of the fancy museum if this key find is neglected?
And another local, Bataji Thakur, brings up tourism.
Ah, yes. A unique find like this could attract visitors, couldn't it?
Definitely. People are fascinated by this kind of thing. 1,000-year-old yogi, potentially. It's a story.
And it wasn't easy to get it out of the ground either. The article mentions it took 6 days.
Yes, a very careful excavation process, which just underlines how fragile it is and how important proper storage-controlled temperature, humidity is.
Conditions you definitely don't get under a tarp.
Not even close.
So let's try and wrap this up. We've got an incredible discovery, scientifically very important.
Huge potential for understanding the Solanki period, maybe these Samadhi burials, ancient lifestyles.
Right. And we've got a brand new, expensive museum built practically next door to celebrate exactly this kind of history.
A museum that even mentions skeletal remains in its publicity.
But the actual skeleton itself, arguably one of the most significant recent finds from Vadnagar, is caught in this dispute between the state and the central archaeological body.
Yeah, a bureaucratic standoff that's left it in inadequate storage for 6 years.
Leading to disappointment locally, missing out on research opportunities, missing out on potential tourism interest.
It's a really unfortunate situation all around. It highlights how important clear procedures and, frankly, just communication are when dealing with heritage.
Absolutely. So, to sum it all up, a significant 1,000-year-old skeleton found in a unique pose, potentially unlocking secrets of the past. But it's currently sidelined by administrative disputes, despite a new museum waiting nearby. Locals are frustrated, and a piece of history remains vulnerable.
Which really leaves you, the listener, with a key question, doesn't it?
It does. What does this whole episode, this 6-year delay, tell us about how we prioritize and manage the preservation and sharing of our history?
Are the systems we have in place actually working effectively when something truly important like this is discovered? What can we learn from this specific case?
Food for thought. We hope you'll keep exploring the amazing history of places like Gujarat and the challenges and triumphs of archaeology. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.